still going on my no sleep marathon till 6 o'clock tonight because I stay up late and I'm trying to reset my schedule because I will ideally be starting work next week. So there's these trends going around social media. You hear these terms mansplaining and manspreading. So mansplaining is essentially a man explaining something to a woman, but almost like talking down to her because she is a female. Now, as much as I want to mock this somewhat because, I mean, hey, these social justice warriors, they go totally crazy, they go totally off the deep end. But I mean, I do think that there are people out there who will, consciously or not, talk down to somebody because they're from a particular group. The classic one I've heard of before is white people telling black people, "Oh, you're so articulate," whereas they wouldn't necessarily tell that same thing to a white person who is just as articulate. Now, I have a few times told a black person that they were very well spoken, but it was because that particular person spoke at the level of like an English professor. And once or twice I had to kind of catch myself there and think, wait a minute, Greg. Even though the other person was very polite, they didn't give me a hard time about it. I was still kind of like, wait a minute, you don't want to come off as being that guy. And I think mansplaining, in that sense, is... I think men do have to be careful, are we talking down to women? But at the same time, I think that, women can do the same thing. I think this is something that can happen with any particular group to any other group. So, honestly, I think social justice warriors really need to get lives. Manspreading, this is what I really want to make this video about. As a man, my body is shaped in a certain way. So me trying to sit comfortably, I have to have my knees apart. Like if I try to bring my knees close together, it actually hurts my knees. Also, my hips are not shaped like a woman's hips. So for me, it's natural that my legs would go apart from one another. So for me to try to sit like cross-legged or something like that, it's very unnatural. It's very difficult, and unless I'm consciously doing that, if I'm on my phone or if I'm paying attention to something else, my body's its natural state of rest is going to be to have my legs apart from each other. And I think it's really unfair that feminists are really, giving men a hard time about this. We can't control the way God created our bodies. And I know they're going to be triggered that I said God also. They need to get over it, to be honest. I mean, these are the same feminists, that are going around doing these topless parades and everything else. And if that's what you believe, if that's the way you want to do things, okay, these are the same feminists who want to get on Bill Nye's show and sing about my sex junk and all this other nonsense. Come on. I mean, you are going to... It's such a double standard, and it's such a double standard against men. And they need to grow up. I mean, I don't see how these feminists are short of being Nazis. Now, I know that term's thrown around a lot, but... it's so intolerant against men because of our gender. It's so intolerant against us because of our biology. Even if it weren't for the fact that, hey, a man doesn't want to crush his testicles while he's sitting down. Even that aside, even if that weren't an issue, our bodies are naturally shaped a certain way and we want to sit a certain way. Now, granted, yeah, I think there's some guys out there who, maybe could be a little more considerate of, how tight their clothes are. They kind of seem like they're maybe intentionally or unintentionally showing off Okay, yeah, the whole world doesn't need to see your balls. The whole world doesn't need to see that. But you know what? It's not always intentional. Just like, hey, sometimes even a woman who's dressed very conservatively, sometimes, a shirt will move, you'll end up seeing her cleavage. And as a gentleman, I look away. But, I mean, if these same feminists are going around topless, going around saying that, hey, people should be allowed to go around naked, and then they're complaining about manspreading, I mean, there's some major inconsistencies here. And I think that's the big problem with the social justice warrior left nonsense, is it's a bunch of hysteria, it's a bunch of immature people, and honestly what they're saying and doing makes absolutely no sense. I remember there was a time where if you had said social justice to me, I thought that meant ending modern day slavery and, things along those lines. But unfortunately, that's just not what it is. If it ever was that, it's not that anymore. And so I think that a lot of these social justice warriors need to grow up. I think they need to get lives. I think they need to get jobs. I think they need to get a major that's not gender studies. Thanks for watching my video. This is Greg, out.